Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jacqueline, and on my Instagram earlier today I asked you to ask me some questions, so I'm going to be responding with the answers in today's YouTube video. I also have some questions on TikTok that I thought were good to add into this video, so I'll be sharing some answers from that as well. The first question I'm going to be answering is, what is a learning disability? Plain and simple. Learning disabilities are learning disorders that affect the ability to understand or use spoken or written language, do mathematical calculations, coordinate movements, direct attention, and overall they just impact the ability to process information. These are just some different categories of different learning disabilities, and I got this from a website which I'll paste down below. The second question I'll be answering is, how do you cope with a learning disability? I do just want to mention this is fully different for every single person who has a learning disability, but for me, these are a couple of ways that I cope with having it different. The first one being knowing my strengths and weaknesses when it comes to like school or activities or really just in general. That way I can get help for my weaknesses and I can focus on strengths in certain aspects. So I think that makes me feel more better, just knowing that I do have capabilities in certain areas and it's okay if I need support in other areas that are a little bit more challenging for me. Second, which is kind of similar to that other one that I just mentioned, is just being very open and honest about my struggles is really helpful for me, because if you bottle up your struggles, that does no good for you or anyone else around you. So being open is really nice, and kind of like communicating with your friends or your parents, anything like that has been very helpful for me in living with a difference. The other thing I want to mention for that is just knowing that every single person that I encounter has good and bad days. Obviously, I do too as well. The next one is, what is the hardest thing about having a learning disability in dating? And I'm putting this in here because I actually have never had a relationship, but I have had thoughts of like being nervous to date with having a learning disability, but I think it's just kind of overcoming my fears one step at a time and knowing that it's okay if you do have a disability. Like, it doesn't make you any less than someone else. So I'm just putting that in there, even though I can't really attest to what it is like currently. Alright, question number 4, which I'm really excited to answer, is, have your friends helped you while you go out to eat with the bill and or the tip? And yes, they definitely do and have helped me. I usually ask to look at someone else's receipt just to know like what exactly I'm supposed to write down in each section. But there's also a tipping calculator, I believe. I will add the app on the screen because I use that and it's very helpful. You can kind of put in your total, what percent tip you want to do, and then it gives you your new total. And I think it's so fabulous that apps like that exist, because it's really helpful for someone like me with a learning disability to do it accurately. And even if I am on my own and I don't have someone else there to help me out, I can go to that app and it's totally fine. Question number 5 is, how does dyslexia affect your homework skills? Right now, I would say just if I have a class that has a lot of reading in it, that can be a little bit overwhelming, but thankfully we do have assistive technology nowadays. So I use audiobooks in that case to make it less overwhelming and easier for me to read and process the information. I really love the app called Speechify, so you can look into that if you want to. I'm not getting paid to say this or anything. It's just really been beneficial in my life, especially at college, so it might be helpful for you too. I would also put this in there, I really like being organized. I know sometimes having a learning disability can impact organizational skills for other people, but something that is just very helpful for me is having a written planner and or a planner that is digital as well, to put all my homework and my due date submissions, just so it makes more sense to me to like chunk it up rather than being completely overwhelmed with seeing all the assignments all at once. So I would say find your way that works best for you to organize your homework situation. Okay, the next question I'm going to answer is, are there any tasks that I hate / am anxious over because of my learning disabilities, and if so, do I have any tips? The first thing that comes to my mind is definitely driving. It's really hard for me to do because it does impact a lot of my struggle areas for my learning disabilities. I have different videos on my YouTube channel about driving with learning disabilities, so I highly recommend you go check that out if you are in the same position. My advice, I guess, is to just start driving if you are able to do so with someone else helping you out. The very first step could literally just be signing up for driver's education if you're really nervous, and or if you already can drive a little bit but you're just nervous to keep on driving. I would just recommend to try your best, take breaks, start off slowly. If you need to go 10 to 15 minutes a day or every other day, start off with that and then just build up over time. It's really hard for me to drive myself, and so I completely understand if it's hard for you too. I think it's just something that I am trying to figure out day by day, and that might be the same with you. But I think just like actually trying to drive, and getting outside of your mind and like actually doing the action of driving is helpful, because you just learn things that work for you or don't work for you, and over time you'll build up confidence. Not so much right now, but in the past, definitely paying for items was so horrible because I did not really understand money. Coins or like paper money, all of that was really confusing, especially the mental math part of trying to calculate how many coins make up the total or how many bills do I give the cashier to make up the total. So for this one, I practiced with my parents over the summertime and or I also did a lot of tutoring that focused on money. So if you can have someone else in your life help you out with paying, and practicing that over and over, soon you will probably learn a little bit more how to do it accurately. And it's also okay if you fail a couple of times, because I surely did and had to have help from the cashier or my friends. So it's just kind of putting yourself in the uncomfortable position and then learning how to do it. The term that comes to my mind is like exposure therapy. And so the more you do it, the more you feel a little bit more confident in yourself, with doing it. The next question, which I think is so awesome, is how can people be more aware of what learning disabilities impact in general? I would say for this one, especially for educators, teachers, parents, like if there is something that is constantly incorrect in a child's life or in a student's life, pay attention to it. And especially if it is in a particular subject matter, pay attention to it. It could definitely be a learning disability, because that's usually how they show up, especially like in the classroom to begin with, and then as you grow older, you're outside the classroom, they impact your life in different ways. But teachers are the first ones who usually see the actual impacts of having a learning disability, so pay attention to the warning signs. Look up warning signs of a learning disability if you're a little bit confused on what they could be. And talk with the parents as well. Like if you notice something as an educator, don't sweep it under the rug. Actually have the conversation with the parent and or with the student if that's also something, if they're older and could understand the struggles. I think it's just so important to not shy away from the potential of having a learning disability, even if it's scary to admit as yourself or as an educator seeing it. I think people get so caught up on the term of having a disability in general, and it's so scary, and it can be, but it's even scarier in my opinion of just not knowing why you struggle the way you struggle. And so if someone in your life can pay attention to that and potentially give you an explanation and or evaluate for you and or evaluate someone for a learning disability, their world can change for the better. Okay, these are a couple questions I've received on my TikTok that I wanted to add in here as well. One of them is there a spectrum to having a learning disability? And there definitely is. People are most common with the autism spectrum, and just like that, other learning disabilities have spectrums as well, different support needs, different signs of their own disability. And so that's something that I got asked a couple times, because they're like, I have this sign that you mentioned, but I don't have this sign, so could I still be disabled or have a learning disability? And the answer is yes. And I got another question on my video asking if I have had an IEP or a 504 plan. I have had an IEP since 3rd grade, and then in high school as well. So I've had many years with an IEP, and it was very helpful for me. And if you do not know, an IEP means Individualized Education Plan, and that gives a person accommodations as well as like specialized instruction in certain areas. Someone asked, can you have dyslexia and dyscalculia at the same time? And yes, you definitely can, because I myself have both dyslexia and dyscalculia. I think the rate to having both of them is near like 40%, so it's actually quite high. It's not rare. I got asked the question of how old was I when someone noticed that I had dyscalculia. I was 14 when I was diagnosed with dyscalculia, but I have had math struggles my entire life, and so I would say someone noticed that I was struggling with math as early as 1st or 2nd grade. We just didn't have the terminology at the time until I was 14. Now, these next few questions are outside of learning disabilities, just like my personal life or other. And one of the questions was, how is college? And do I have any advice? I just did a video about my semester 1 recap of college, so if you want to check that video out, you sure can. I'm really loving college. I was so nervous, of course, to even start, but being there, making friends, having unique classes are all very fun and interesting and make my life so much better. Next question I got asked is, what is something you would tell your younger self? I would definitely tell my younger self to not compare as much to others, because I will quite literally never be anyone else other than myself, and so although that is deep and like little Jacqueline may not understand and still compare myself to others, I would just say like embrace your uniqueness, because that's what makes you stand out than others, and it's good that you are unique. You don't want to be like everyone else because that's boring. So that's something that I just wish I understood a little bit sooner, and I wish that I would understand sooner that literally every single person has a struggle in one way or another, and mine just happens to be learning disabilities, and that is totally okay. It doesn't make me any less than a person. I thought for this last minute or two I would just say a couple of things that I do outside of advocacy work, because I know that's obviously what you guys know me as, and so I just wanted to share a couple of things about me, because I also have some new faces on this account, which is so exciting, so welcome! And I hope to see more people subscribing, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe to my channel down below. Here's some facts you may not know about me. I literally love Uno so much. I'm actually obsessed with that card game, and I could play it for hours on end, and I have. I have a new hobby of junk journaling and or scrapbooking, and so let me pop up some pictures on here. I am a communications major, which is exciting. I don't know if I want to do film and media, but I might, so I'll update you at some point if that is a minor that I choose to do. And then I love dressing up so much. Fashion is definitely one of my other passions, and just like admiring other people's clothing makes me so happy. Lastly, some of my favorite musicians right now, not a lot of you guys out there know it, my close friends know it, but I am obsessed with Noah Kahan. I love Gracie Abrams. I just really like folk and pop music in general, and so that's the type of music that I listen to. Comment below if you want what type of music you listen to, because I'm very interested and I need to update my playlists. So give me some song recommendations or artists to listen to, because I'm always looking for new songs. Thank you so much everyone for watching this video. I hope to see you on the next video, and I hope that you learned a couple more facts about me and or learning disabilities in general. Thank you to the people who did ask me some questions on my Instagram or TikTok. That was very helpful and I appreciate it so much. Bye everyone!